So I wanted to come on here and give you some information about me so you can know who I am and how is it that I know so much about hormone therapy and wellness and aging well and all those things. So let me just start from the beginning. I was a strange kid. Let me start there. I can remember when I was in third grade. I kid you not. I announced to my mom, okay, put me on Weight Watchers because I was pudgy, was pleasantly plump, and I didn't want to be. I wanted to be slender. I was never thin, not until I got older. And so I told my mom, let's put me on Weight Watchers. And so she did. She brought me to Weight Watchers, and I would bring my food to school when I was in the third grade, if you can even imagine that. And believe it or not, I started doing exercises at home after dinner when I was like 8. I remember doing sit-ups after dinner when I was like 8 years old. So there's that. I kind of understood or became interested in health and wellness at a very young age, although no one in my family was like that. Everyone smoked cigarettes. I never smoked a day in my life. And while we're on that subject, I never really drank. I'm not really a drinker. It just doesn't agree with me. I end up feeling sick more than anything else, nauseous. What I did do growing up in New York City, can you guess? Yes, I grew up in the 80s in New York City. I went to all the clubs in the 80s and the 90s. Can you guess what I did? We did drugs, okay? But I never went overboard. And it was always recreational. It was that kind of thing. Anyhow, so that's what I was like when I was a kid. And then when I got to be 20, 1981, I looked at myself. I'm like, okay, I got to take care of myself here. I just was not liking the way I was starting to look. And again, pudgy, a little thick. And I thought, no, we got to do something about this. And so I went to the gym. I was living in Manhattan at the time, and I found a gym called Better Bodies. It's no more, but Gladys Portuguese was one of the people that was in that gym at the time. I don't know if you're into bodybuilding, you know who she is. Nonetheless, I picked up my first weight, and that was it. I was hooked. And I've been working out ever since 1981. And to this day, I still work out right now 4 days a week because the gym is a little bit far for me. It's a 20-minute drive one way, And so if I could go every day, I would. But it's just not at this moment in time. It's not convenient. But I do go 4 days a week. I lift very, very heavy, as heavy as I can possibly manage and still maintain good form. It's cold today, so I'm not going to flex, but I've got some good muscles. And so I go to the gym 4 days a week right now, train very heavy. And I will train very heavy until the day I die. The gym literally is the fountain of youth, but it helps me de-stress, just basically keep my life together, if that makes any sense. I take a ton of vitamins, and that's it. No medications. I have nothing wrong with me, knock wood. And I believe it's because of the hormone therapy that I started when I was 45, which is in 2006. So that was 20 years ago. I started on bioidentical hormones. I just wanted to mention for my dietary habits, I've always paid attention to how I'm eating. I've never been perfect by all means. Oh, no. I love sweets. But I keep that at a minimum. A few sweets every day kind of thing. I just don't go overboard like I did when I was like 25. I would eat like a whole thing of cookies. Now I'll have 1 or 2 cookies instead. And I prioritize protein. Every meal has 20 to 25 grams of protein. I've always done that. I've always prioritized protein. And I've always put, rice, pasta, bread at the bottom of the list. Although, check this out, in 2021, my thyroid switched from very slow, underactive, to overactive. That's another story, another video, but that did happen. And now if I'm not careful, and if I don't eat enough in one day, I will see a drop in the scale the next day. I don't think that's so good. But anyway, that's the way it is for me right now. I haven't done anything about that. I'm not sure what to do about it. It seems rather strange, and I'm not one to be getting on medication. So at the moment, I've just let it sit, but I will look into it at some point. But that's not why we're here. We're here to just so you understand who I am and how is it I have all this information in my head and I can share it with you. Okay, so that's who I am. I prioritize sleep. I drink plenty of water. I go to the gym. I eat a lot of protein. I'm very healthy with my habits, basically very healthy habits. And speaking of habits, I need a drink of water. All right. Anyhow, then in 2002, I read this book. This book now is outdated, just so you know. Some of the information is still good, but a lot of it is outdated and is no longer accurate. But it was the only thing we had. And from this book, I started really looking into hormone therapy and what kind of hormone therapy and what did I want to do. And from reading this book, I came away with two significant conclusions. One is I was only going to do bioidentical hormones, and I was only going to use a compounding pharmacy. That is key. I was not willing to do a pharmaceutical drug that they called hormones that Pfizer or one of the other drug companies made, because I knew about these drug companies, and I knew I wanted to stay as far away from them as possible. And when I say I knew about these drug companies, I knew how often they put out drugs that actually harm and kill people. And the only thing that happens to them is they have to pay a fee, a fee of, I'm not sure how much. It used to be where the CEO went to jail, but they stopped doing that. So now they factor it in as doing cost of business if they have to pay a fee if people get injured or die. And that type of business model didn't work for me, and I wanted to stay as far away from pharmaceutical drugs as I could possibly get. So I knew going into menopause that I was only going to do a compounding pharmacy, and I was only going to do compounded bioidentical hormones. And when I say bioidentical, here is what you are going to hear. You're going to hear some doctors poo-poo that term. And I think to myself, why would they have any opinion about it at all? But they'll say, oh, that's just a marketing term. Okay, you can call it what you want. It's bioidentical. Other doctors will say they'll say body identical. Call it what you want. This is what it actually is. It is the same exact molecular structure that your body makes. So the same exact molecular structure that my body makes when it comes to testosterone, when it comes to estradiol, when it comes to estriol, when it comes to progesterone. So let me tell you what I'm taking so this kind of makes sense. This is my estrogen. These are sublingual drops. I get them from a compounding pharmacy. And what's in here? Estradiol and estriol. I started with estradiol, estriol, and estrone back in 2006, and that was called Triest. Then around 2018, I started having these cysts. They would get big under my armpits, and then they would just go down. And I thought, that's not good. So my doctor and I discussed it. We took out the estrone, and I was left with Biest. Biest meaning 2, estriol, estradiol. And you want to know something about estriol? A lot of doctors do not prescribe estriol, but there have been a few studies, not many studies, but a few studies that show a correlation with a lowered risk of cancer, with the presence of high estriol, and a higher risk of cancer with a low level of estriol. For me, that's all I need. I don't need a whole bunch of studies. This is something my body makes, so in my brain, I think this is what I want. I also do, this is my testosterone sublingual drops. I do testosterone sublingual drops twice a day. This, I'm going to tell you in a minute how much I do every day. And then I do my progesterone cream, transdermal cream. Now, I said two things. The first thing was I do bioidentical hormones. The second thing from reading this book, never have I had a mammogram, and never will I ever have a mammogram. In my mind, I thought, it doesn't seem right. This, just thinking about squishing a woman's breast into a flat pancake, in my mind, I just thought something can go wrong. That does not sound like a good idea. And just from that thought, I never did. But then now we're learning. And if you haven't heard this, please check into this. We are learning that, in fact, mammograms can cause breast cancer. Why? Because they rupture maybe something sitting in your breast, a rogue cancer cell that would have stayed intact had you not mushed your breast to a pancake, and then it travels throughout the body, metastasizes, and now you have cancer. And so for me, the whole thing just didn't make sense to me, and so I never did it. But that's what I learned from the book. I get thermographies, in case you're wondering. I get thermographies. And so that's what I'll always do. And I think ultrasound might be a good idea, but I haven't really looked into that. Nonetheless, I started on bioidentical hormones back in 2006 with Women's International. Women's International Compounding Pharmacy was purchased by Belmar Compounding Pharmacy, and I'm still using them today. In fact, the only thing that has changed is my, in the 20 years I've been doing this, is my estrogen. Because like I said, I had Triest and now I do Biest. Now let me tell you how I do my hormones. I do not do a static dose every day. I know this is how they're doing it now, but when I started in 2006, there was no instruction manual on here's how you do your hormones. And there was no such thing as a patch. There was no such thing as a pellet. And I'm happy there wasn't, because I might have done a patch and I'm glad I didn't. And I might have done pellets and I'm glad I didn't, for various reasons. But nonetheless, when I started, I went to the pharmacist at Women's International and I said, hey, how do we do this? And here's what she did for me. And I said to her, I said, if my menstrual cycle is where I have a lot of estrogen in the beginning of the month, very little at the end, and the opposite with my progesterone, very little in the beginning of the month, a lot of it at the end, that's how I want to do my hormones, because I just will follow what my body does naturally, and that's what we do. So now, I don't know if this is going to come out backwards, but now, every couple days, I think this is my progesterone, this is my estrogen, I will change the dosage to match my menstrual cycle. And then I keep track of what day it is for me. For instance, this was March 1st, March 2nd, and so on. Actually, this is my February one. I have to do the March one. And even though it is March the 1st, the day that I am on in my cycle is day 5. There would be a more in-depth discussion to understand why that is, but nonetheless, this is how I am doing it. And let me tell you, I think that has made all the difference in the world. The fact that I am simply following my body's cycle, normal, natural cycle, with the administration of those hormones, I honestly think it has been the game changer. I think that's why I don't have any health issues. I don't even have a PCP because I don't need one. If I need blood work, I used to work for Life Extension, and I just go to their website. I order the blood work I need because they have they have every single blood test that's available through LabCorp. They have on their website. And so I just order what I need, and it's very reasonably priced. Yes, I pay out of pocket for everything. That is the way it works. If I wanted Premarin, which is full of horses' urine hormones, and for me, I'm not a horse, and so I don't want to have hormones from a horse in my body. That doesn't make sense to me. And that's why I only will go with a compounding pharmacy, and why I will only go with bioidentical hormones that are an exact molecular structure as the hormones that my body makes inside of my body. All right, this video has gone on forever. I'm going to cut it now. If you have questions, happy to answer. Otherwise, have a great day.